Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 fresh and clean fragrances, so stay tuned for that. If you like fragrance reviews, cologne comparisons, first impressions, and top 10 lists, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So I thought this would be a pretty good time to do this video, considering spring is definitely here and summer's on the way, and it is certainly a really good time to start wearing fresh and clean fragrances. So I picked out 10 fragrances. Some of them are going to be definitely familiar, some of them are definitely a little bit different, but these are fragrances I really enjoy, some ranging from just fresh citrusy, some to soapy type of fragrances. But without further ado, let's get into the list. So this one I actually just sort of discovered recently, and I just talked about it recently, but I did really enjoy this one, and that is Chanel Allure Homme Sport Cologne. This one is very fresh. It does have a nice citrus opening, lemon, orange, neroli, the three most dominant notes that I get in the opening. A little hint of vetiver in this one as well. And it does have this really nice, beautiful, almost aquatic mandarin kind of vibe to it in the opening. I do get a little bit of a lemonade vibe as well. Dries down into a bit of a vetiver fragrance, vetiver neroli, that then becomes a nice soapy fragrance. Good transition for a hot day. Nice, fresh, clean fragrance that has a lot of the different aspects of fresh, clean fragrances. So citrusy, uplifting, fresh, bright, and of course soapy. So it really in many ways combines every aspect of that. Performance is not bad. Usually around the 6-hour mark, sometimes a little bit more, but it isn't exactly a projector. But it is actually quite nice, and I think it's one that is underworn for sure. Now the next one, this one is one that I tried recently, and it is one that I think, a lot of people definitely enjoyed it, but it's from a brand that maybe some people didn't expect, and that is from Zoologist, and it's Musk Deer. So, for a long time, I kind of felt this way too, that a lot of Zoologist fragrances are conceptually extremely interesting, but ultimately not things that I would wear. A lot of the newer fragrances from Zoologist, I think, have been a lot more mass appealing, and this one is no exception to that. This is a very easy to wear fragrance. They've always had some easy to wear fragrances, even something like Civet, which has it's more of a floral fragrance and has a hint of Civet in it. So they have always had these wearable fragrances, but they've also had a lot of challenging ones. Musk Deer, on the other hand, is a very wearable, clean, fresh floral fragrance. It does have a nice, clean musk to it. There's no sense in which it's animalic, like, an actual musky, or what you would expect from a Musk Deer. And so I think it's actually a really good one for this list. If you want something that just comes off clean, fresh, that's a really nice one. A very clean, musky fragrance. Next one that I actually waited a long time to pick up from when it first came out, and that's Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. So this one is, similar to 4711, similar to Neroli Portofino. It is a fresh, woodsy neroli fragrance. It's very easy to wear, very easy to pull off. It doesn't come across particularly soapy in that kind of way at all. But it does have a very fresh vibe to it, very clean as well. So the neroli especially, I think, contributes to that cleanness. And it does perform a lot better than both Neroli Portofino and 4711. Now, like I said, I waited a long time to get this fragrance because I didn't want to pay retail. I know you can find this on discounters. So I got this as a tester. I think it was $42, which I think is a very nice price for what it offers. And it is one that's super easy to wear and one that I really enjoy. So one to check out for sure. Now, the next one would be, I tried not to put this one on the list just because, it's kind of at least feels like to me to be a little bit expected, but it is really good, and that's Elysium by Roja Parfums. This one is, to me, I like describing it as being a little bit futuristic. It's a very friendly vetiver fragrance, so in that sense it's not vetiver dominant, but there is hints of a very clean vetiver in there. Not soapy, but clean. There's something about this fragrance that comes off very slick, very futuristic is kind of the way I like to describe it. There's something just very, very like it doesn't smell metallic, but if you picture the concept of a very slick metallic surface, that's almost the feeling that I get with this fragrance. Nice citrusy elements, blended really well. It doesn't come off. It does have lemon, but it doesn't come across to being anything like pledgy. There's just this very, very high quality citrus, and it is one that is enjoyed by a lot of people. Mass appealing, very fresh, very clean, very manly, in my opinion, and does have that nice, clean vetiver vibe as well to back it up. Now, speaking of clean vetiver, my favorite from the line, Terre Fresh. And it is, although it does have some aspects of Terre with the dirty orange, it still comes across quite clean, especially in the opening. The orange is actually very bright, very clean, very aquatic feeling. And so it gives it a very nice, clean, orangey vibe. But it does also have a nice vetiver, and because of the aquaticness, because it's a lighter fragrance, the vetiver is not at all smoky or dirty or earthy or challenging. It's actually a very nice, clean vetiver. And in my opinion, this is the easiest to like from the line. This is the best from the line. For the longest time, this would be the fragrance that I would put on if I was going on an airplane, either this or Elysium. I just put a couple sprays on, nothing crazy, just so that I don't stink up the place on those long flights. Obviously, don't want to wear something really abrasive because you're going to be locked in with other people. But this is one that is easy to like, mass appealing, even for people that don't like Terre Hermes, and really, really enjoy that one. The next one is one that, honestly, I would think about buying it if I was looking for this kind of fragrance, and it is from Penhaligon's, and it's The Tragedy of Lord George. It's weird because the notes on this one, like, have rum and stuff in it, and it seems like it's going to be this really nice boozy fragrance, when in fact, it isn't even slightly boozy. It's actually much more of a soapy fragrance, soapy woody. So I don't really get any rum, but I do get this really, really luxurious, fine, soapy vibe from it that does actually come off a little bit like soap froth. So it's very light and very, very clean smelling. It almost feels or smells like you've really just come out of a shower or something, freshly lathered up and, as clean as can be. And it's very, very luxurious. So it does really come across as a luxurious soap. Performance is not the best on this one, and so that's one drawback, but I don't think it's the most expensive Penhaligon's, and especially as a niche fragrance, I don't think it's the most expensive, but I would actually have to double check those prices. But if you love those kinds of soapy fragrances, I think that's one you should definitely check out. Another alternative from the line that is fairly nice, and I think it is a fairly fresh, clean fragrance, is also Sartorio. This does have a better performance than The Tragedy of Lord George. It is more of a nice masculine barbershop, a little bit of those spices, that kind of lavender kind of freshness. Very, very nice fragrance overall. Now, top 4. Next one was my scent of the day today. This one is an absolute beast, so even if you're going to be outside, you don't need to spray a lot of this one. That's Musk Oud. And it's funny because this one in some ways I wouldn't have expected it to be, given the name, wouldn't have expected it to be what it is. But it is a very, very clean smelling fragrance. The musk is very, very clean. It doesn't really have much of a oud vibe to it. Maybe a little bit of a woody undertone, but overall this isn't really an oudy fragrance. It has a bit of a sharp rose smell to it, and it has also a little bit of booziness in the opening. But the musk is just super crisp, super clean. This is done by Alberto Morealis, and his sort of profile is those fresh fragrances. This is personally my favorite by him. I mean, obviously I do like the Aqua de Joe line, and that's his most sellingest, of all time. But this one also really, really good, very luxurious, has a lot of class and character to it. So, like this one, was my scent of the day. I definitely went a little heavy on this one, even though I was going to be outside. I think it was kind of heavy because this one is beast, absolute beast, very, very strong fragrance. So, top 3. The next one I don't actually own. This one, to me, one of the big problems with this is that it's so luxurious, I don't know when I would wear it except for a formal occasion in the heat, and that's Renaissance by Xerjoff. Really, really nice citrus fragrance. I think it has a hints of mint in it. And I think the biggest thing about it is the tangerine note that it has. So tangerine does make it very unique, I think. There's not a lot of citrus fragrances that I can think off the top of my head that have tangerine. Certainly there are some. But that's the most prominent note, and it just gives it this very nice, crisp, luxurious vibe to it that really makes it one of these fragrances that, for me, is like the citrus formal fragrance of all time. Like it would be a standard recommendation for me if you're looking for a citrus fragrance for a formal occasion in the heat. Try out Renaissance, because it just feels like the kind of thing that you'd wear to an upscale event. Very classy, nicely done, beautiful, beautiful tangerine, and like I said, there's mint in that one too. So it is a nice fragrance, and I thought I'd put this one on the list. Very nice, fresh, clean fragrance. Top 2. The next one on the list is no stranger to my personal lists, and that is Galloway by Parfums de Marly. This is another one that I ranked pretty high as like a niche office fragrance. It does definitely have a refined quality that I think can be worn to the office, especially with a suit on, something that certainly the boss can wear. And it is very easy to pull off in this very nice, refined, clean manner that it has. I think the two main contributors to that are the iris and the musk. So it is a very clean, musky fragrance. And the iris does not contribute to this in any way by making it either powdery or like lipsticky, so that's actually a nice thing. I don't like those two facets of iris, but this one just comes off very clean and fresh. And in the opening I even get a little bit of this vibe where it reminds me of fresh water, just like a stream or a river or something like that. Not your standard salty aquatic kind of vibe, but this really nice, just clean, fresh water vibe that it has. Also has bergamot, I believe. And, in the opening, there's this really nice citrus blast. It does sit with the fragrance for quite some time. That nice citrus vibe lasts quite a few hours, and this one does perform really, really well. 8+ hours easily. Very nice projection and longevity for a fresh fragrance. Now, one of the defining features, I think, of this fragrance is also the pepper. So this one has a little bit of a pepperiness to it. And that pepperiness gives it definitely a bit of an edge, a little bit of an intrigue, makes it a little bit, I guess, more masculine. It is a fairly unisex fragrance, but it does give it that little bit of something to make it a little more interesting than just a clean, musky fragrance. So if you do like those sort of fresh, clean, musky fragrances, you want something that performs, something that's quite versatile, especially for spring, summer, check out Galloway. It's definitely one that isn't talked about a lot, and it is one from Parfums de Marly that I really enjoy, and I think you can find it for a good price. I got this tester, I think it was $115 for 125 milliliters, which I think is a good price for a Parfums de Marly. Now, top of the list is no stranger as well, and one that I do like. Maybe a little bit of a surprise because some people might not think of this as a fresh, clean fragrance, but it is very fresh, and it has that barbershop vibe, and that's Viking by Creed. So there is a lot of freshness in the opening of this one. Very, very fresh, and it has a really nice, cooling, minty vibe. One of the other qualities this has is a lot of spice, and I think that's one thing that might, if you're thinking about this list, make it a little bit more of a surprise, because it does have a lot of spice, which gives it this very fiery kind of vibe and contrasts that cool, crisp cleanness that the mint brings to this fragrance. But ultimately, it does come across as sort of a modern take on that barbershop thing. So if you think of that smell you get, if you went to an old school barbershop, got your hair cut, and you got your beard shaved or whatever, and that nice froth that they put on your face, all that kind of stuff. This is the kind of thing that really comes to mind. But it's a much more modern, refined take. It has a very nice masculine vibe, and it has a rose in it that's done exceptionally well. It doesn't become overly rosy or overpowering in any sort of way. And I'm not a huge rose fan. There are a few fragrances that I like that have rose in it. And this is definitely one that certainly does the job well. And, very, very good fresh fragrance that I think for a long time has been underrated from the House of Creed. A lot of people are starting to like it a little bit more now, and that's fantastic. But it is probably, along with Arolfa, my favorite Creed. Anyways, guys, that is the list. Leave a comment down below. What are your favorite fresh, clean fragrances? let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.